Jenna, the U.S. financial markets have reopened following their break on Wednesday for President George H.W. Bush's funeral. A major sell-off on Tuesday. What's the latest?
Yeah, so major sell-off on Tuesday. We're seeing that continue today. The Dow and the S&P have erased their 2018 gains. In fact, they're down 1% for the year. And the S&P 500 had dropped as much as 6% over 2 days, making it its worst two-day drop since February. And more than 10% of the stocks in the S&P 500 have reached new 52-week lows today. This really is a cross-sector sell-off. We're seeing a lot of sectors down, especially energy and financials. And so the major losers today are Oracle. Oracle fell 5.5% to its lowest in 5 years. Citigroup, CVS, Bank of America, JP Morgan, also some major losers. And this isn't just in the U.S. We're seeing a global sell-off, certainly. The Stoxx 600 ended 3.3% lower in its worst day since the Brexit vote of 2016. And in Germany, the DAX fell to its worst in 2.5 years, and its seventh decline in 8 days.
And then how does the arrest of Huawei as CFO threaten to upend the Trump-Xi trade truce?
Yeah, so some irony here. The same day that President Trump and Xi Jinping were meeting in Argentina, making this trade truce, some 7,000 miles away, the Huawei CFO was arrested by Canadian authorities, and the U.S. is trying to extradite Wang Zhoming, the CFO, and Canada has confirmed that she was in custody shortly after the Globe and the Mail reported that she was arrested for violating Iran sanctions. And China promptly reacted with outrage over this news, demanding that both countries move to free her. Later, the foreign ministry said it was waiting for details on why she was arrested and said trade talks should continue. And it's hard to overstate the significance of Huawei for Beijing. It is a leader in 5G. It's also trying to take on a lot of American chip makers, and perhaps no company better exemplifies the perceived trade threat than Huawei. It's overtaken Apple in smartphone sales, and it's targeting record sales of $102 billion this year. This is a massive, massive company, and right now, it's unclear what role Trump played in Ming's arrest or if he will intervene at some point.
And then some U.S. interest rate future traders are starting to doubt that the Fed will actually raise rates even once next year. How does this actually contrast with policymakers' latest set of forecasts?
Yeah, so policymakers' latest forecast from September anticipate 3 rate hikes in 2019. But if we look at Eurodollar futures, they really tell a different story here. The Eurodollar futures curve is only pricing in less than 1 25-point basis point rate hike next year. And if you look at the rate gap between the contract that expires at the end of this year and the contract that expires at the end of next year, it's narrowed to 15 basis points, which is obviously lower than the 25 basis point rate hike. And just 2 months ago, that was at 60 basis points, so pricing in at least the December rate hike as well as at least 2 others in 2019. And we also got a major headline on Fed rate hike anticipations for 2019 from Vanguard today. Vanguard expects the Fed to stop raising interest rates in the summer of 2019. Certainly a lot of people listening to see what Vanguard has to say on this. Its chief economist, global chief economist Joe Davis, says he's expecting to see a slowdown but not a global recession. And it really is interesting to watch what's going to happen with rate hikes with the Fed in 2019. And according to the Eurodollar futures curve, it could be potentially sooner than some people were anticipating.
All right, thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. That was Bloomberg's Jenna Degenhardt in New York.